Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Beautiful day here in the central Adirondacks. I am at Limekill Campground. That's my site right there. A nice fire going. We are under a bear watch. Apparently we got lots of bears here. There was bears here last year when I was here. But this is going to be my home for the next 3 days as I go out and adventure. I want to hit Big Moose Lake and then head over to Helldiver Pond to see if I can find Bruce the Moose. So stick around. So this is Big Moose Lake, and it's a restricted lake. It is, the lake is maintained and controlled by the homeowners association around the lake. And there's a lot of houses and a lot of camps around this lake, a lot of nice camps around this lake. And they test the water here to make sure that the water is good. It is, the only way to get into the lake is you have to go through Dunn's Marina. They have to come out and inspect your vessel and make sure it's clean. And it's a $15 charge. And so, I mean, I don't blame them for being cautious, because invasive species are getting into lakes all over Adirondacks, and these guys are just doing their best to keep it out. So if you do come to Big Moose and you want to put a boat in, or a kayak, or a canoe, you have to go to Dunn's Marina. It's the only launch area. There is a charge. They will inspect your boat. And it is highly restricted. And I made sure that before I came, I cleaned my my kayak up, and I do that on a regular basis anyways. But to get on Big Moose, you have to go through Dunn's Marina. I don't blame them for being so cautious, because invasive species really hurts a lot of these Adirondack lakes. Welcome back, everybody. This is Big Moose Lake that I'm currently on. Every lake that I go on, I try to do a little bit of research on it to see if there's what restrictions are on it or anything like that. And it seems like every lake I go on has a little bit of history to it. And this lake here has probably the biggest history in the Adirondacks. This lake here was the scene where the Adirondack Tragedy happened. A murder of Grace Brown happened on this lake. And so here we go with another Adirondack story. Back in 1903, there was a girl named Grace Brown who worked at the Cortland Skirt Factory. And she had a thing for her supervisor, Chester Gillette, whose uncle owned the company, and the two flirted with each other a lot, and eventually basically hooked up, and she got pregnant, and Chester had absolutely was not going to marry her. He had no inclination to marry her. Dejected, Grace went home to her parents in the southern tier of New York, but she didn't give up hope that her and Chester would get together. She kept in contact with him, and Chester kept in contact with her. And then Chester got a hold of her and wanted to take her on a holiday into the Adirondacks. And they caught a train in Cortland to Utica, and then from Utica to Tupper Lake, and then from Tupper Lake to here, Big Moose Lake. They stayed at the Glenmore Hotel, which is at the southern end of the lake. It's behind me. And Chester rented a rowboat to take Gracie out. Grace thought this trip was going to be a romantic trip. She thought this was going to be an engagement trip. But when Chester rented the boat, he brought along only a couple items, and one of those items was a tennis racket, which locals thought that was kind of weird, but you know, who knows. Well, when evening came and Chester and Grace did not return, the locals decided to go out and start looking for him. The next morning they found Chester on shore on one of the islands, and the boat overturned, and Grace was nowhere to be found. Chester said it was an accident. The boat had capsized and he could not save Grace. So the search continued for Grace. They took Chester to shore to keep him at the Glenmore while they searched for Grace. And a couple days later, Grace's body surfaced, and it was clear that she did not drown. She was beaten with that tennis racket. Chester was arrested and taken to the county lockup, which is in Herkimer, and witnesses said that he showed no remorse. He maintained his innocence, that he was innocent. He did not kill her. The sensation of this trial took the nation by storm. Everybody was watching out on this. Back then you only got newsprint, and so this was a sensationalized story across the nation, and it was called the Adirondack Tragedy. Well, Chester was found guilty at his trial of murder of Grace Brown, and he was sentenced to death. He was sentenced to die in the electric chair that New York State had put in at the Auburn Correctional Facility. It was the Auburn Prison, but now it's the Auburn Correctional Facility. And Chester maintained his innocence right up until just before he was executed in the chair. There's unconfirmed reports that he did finally admit to killing Grace, but it's unconfirmed. But he went to the electric chair in 1906, but that was one of the big stories here in the Adirondacks. The murder of Grace Brown happened right on this lake. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel to follow the adventure. Thanks for joining me. Watch out, don't get hit.